hide in the corner.
All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Let's go ahead and get started. Beth arranged special entertainment back there as background sound. Thank you, Beth. Okay, so our all-staff meeting, and thank you everyone for coming. If you didn't sign in or grab a stress ball, please make sure you do so on the way out. You can choose a green one or a blue one. There is information in the back about the new pet insurance that is now open for enrollment and launching September 1st. It's going on to Touchtown. A blast email went out to everyone as well with those exact forms attached to it if you're interested. Ariana Rodriguez, first enrollee. The cutest little puppy ever. Oh my God.
If you want to see pictures, come see me.
Yeah.
So cute.
Okay, so I want to let you know that the employee of the month for August, for the Springs, is Fran Ate, our administrative assistant. And then for independent living, the employee of the month is Brian Vanderway. Which is just going to give Matt one more reason to razz him. Be nice.
Matt demanded a recount.
There will be no recounts, Matt. In fact, for the whole month of August, while he's employee of the month, Matt, you have to be extra nice to him. Okay, for those of you who do not know, every year you are able to come to the HR department to refresh your uniforms, badges, shoes. So if you have not in the past year refreshed your uniforms or your badges, please stop in. Sarah will help you with that. Some of you may not realize that you could actually ask for an updated photo for your badge. Some of them are very cute.
Does anyone in HR do hair and makeup?
We do not do hair and makeup. But every year you can do that. Now, if you want additional in-between times, then there is a form in the HR department for you to fill out that you can purchase additional uniforms, and that would be payroll deducted. Okay? So today's meeting is really about all of you. This is end of July. We're a little past the halfway mark of the year, and we're heading into budget cycles and creating budgets for 2023. So we thought this is a great time for us to hear from employees. The number one complaint that employees have in all of the workplaces, this is a universal thing, it's not unique to Monarch Landing, but pretty much every employer, the number one complaint from employees has to do with communication. They don't feel that they're heard, they don't have an opportunity to speak, they don't get enough information in return. So some of the things we've tried to do since the beginning of the year to address that was we introduced Touchtown. If you have not downloaded Touchtown, please do so because that is our main information vehicle for pretty much everything. We've done blast emails, we've increased flyers and posters, things like that. But today what we would like to do is really hear from you. What do you feel like is going well, not going well? What would you like to see more of? You know, we introduced a suggestion box module on Touchtown, and we're very appreciative of all the people who participate and give us suggestions through that vehicle. And I'm going to share a few of those with you today, and then we're going to turn it over to all of you. Batisha is here with her laptop. She's taking notes. We will share all of the feedback from the 3 all-staff meetings onto Touchtown, and then we will give you progress reports as we work towards some of these things that we can work towards. Okay? They'll be shared with all of the leadership teams and the executive teams as well. So we received quite a few suggestions, and there were a couple of things that were suggested that made me realize that absolutely we need to do a better job of communication, for example, with our benefits. So one of the suggestions was can we provide for chiropractor services within our benefits? And actually, if you carry any of the Blue Cross Blue Shield medical plans, chiropractor services is covered by Blue Cross Blue Shield. Okay? Better dental coverage. So one of the things about dental coverage is dental coverage has not changed in like 40 years. It's very fixed. So dental coverage offers typically a maximum annual benefit of $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, and then the top plans are $5,000. So Monarch Landing already carries the premium dental plan. We are through Delta Dental, but our annual maximum is $5,000, and that's the max that we can go. Even if we wanted to offer more than that, there is no insurance for dental that offers more than that. Okay, so we're already there. If they should ever change, then we would look at that. Okay. Now, I received a very interesting suggestion now that the plant guys are here. I thought I'd share. So this one says, Mark Trojan and James Allen in maintenance get free breakfast and lunch every day on the spring side, and the guys on the independent living side would also like free breakfast and lunch every day. So, we'll take it under advisement. There you go. Another suggestion that we are actively working on is there were a number of suggestions about recognition. Recognizing for birthdays, recognizing for anniversaries of people who've been here 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15 years, things like that. So one of the things that we are looking at is something called extraordinary rewards. It's a really cool system that you would download an app to your phone. You have your own individual account, and then you would earn points, which can be converted into dollars, and those dollars can be used to purchase a pretty wide array of products, services, hotel stays, travel stays. There's more than 70,000 options that you can actually tap into to purchase. So we are looking at doing that and launching it later this fall. Okay. Tuition reimbursements, scholarships, again, also something that we are currently looking at and evaluating as part of our overall benefit package. So a note about benefits. Benefits is something just like pay. It's something that we evaluate continuously through the course of the year. In particular now, obviously, because we're looking at budget for next year, but continuously always looking at that and how can we improve it, and what are the cost implications for doing certain things. That is always on the forefront of our mind. Okay. So what I'd like to do is now turn it over to you. We got great feedback at the 7 o'clock meeting. About some things that people had some thoughts and concerns over. This is a safe environment. So if you have something negative to say, you don't have to worry or look over your shoulder. We're not going to come after you. We're not sending ninjas after you or anything. We really do truly and sincerely want to hear from you. What are the concerns and issues of the day? And your compliments as well as your criticism, so that we can take that as a leadership team and really work on that, because we work here too, and we work here a lot of hours. You want your work environment to be as positive and pleasant as possible, especially on days when we're dealing with some really tough or challenging issues. You don't want to have to go through day after day of dealing with tough, challenging issues and then hate your job or hate your work environment. So our goal is to make it the best possible environment that we can. We lose sleep over it, honestly. So please speak up, and V is going to take notes. So what are your thoughts? You guys can't be more shy than the 7 a.m. group. They're not tired. Yes.
Hi.
Hiya.
Okay.
Hi, Barb.
Okay.
I got two for MJ because she forgot to ask.
She forgot to ask.
Insurance 401 phone number. She don't have that information. She want to know how she can access the 401 information.
Okay.
And plates.
And what?
Plates.
Plates?
In the dining room.
Dinner plates.
Our
Okay.
plates on each floor comes up missing. So
Okay.
we're short plates.
Plates and silverware.
Okay,
Got it.
all right.
And
Is that pointing at Mark because he's eating
Oh, no.
breakfast?
I get paper. You should
All
see
right.
it set at home, it's all new.
Do you have something else, Barb?
do we have paid, birthdays off, like? paid
We don't,
birthdays?
we don't at this time. It was suggested this morning, and so we'll look at that.
Weekend differential and Aflac.
Okay, all right, so Aflac is something that we, in all probability, would not necessarily offer because of the sheer expense of it. There are other options that are similar to Aflac that we are actually looking at. That would be provided as a supplemental benefit, and so look for that this fall. But something along those lines, definitely we will be looking to provide. Just don't know what it is and what it looks like just yet. And also, if Aflac comes back to us with a proposal that's, cost effective and reasonable, more reasonable for our folks, we would certainly entertain that too. But their initial offering was very expensive and cost prohibitive and not going to be helpful or useful for the bulk of our employees. Okay. All right. Jessica,
Are bonuses gonna be brought back for picking up extra shifts?
I don't know.
Okay.
So it's on the list of things that we've been talking about. So let's talk about some of that stuff in terms of like bonuses, wages, money. So this year, actually from last year, there was a strong commitment made to really look at market rates for a number of positions throughout the organization and make those adjustments in February, which is when it took place, to make those adjustments come what may. And one of what come what may was making that adjustment knowing that we were going to run the risk of running into the negative for some portion of the year and then work very hard to make up that negative back into the positive by year end. So that's where we're at right now. We made those adjustments, and now we're working on how do we look at expenses and preserve, and increase revenue and preserve costs so that we end the year on a positive note. But the fact that Monarch Landing and the ownership group and the leadership group really has a vested interest in looking at those market adjustments on a regular basis. I mean, I've worked in other communities. That's a significant difference for Monarch Landing. Because other communities don't have those conversations. It is not even in their top 3 priority lists, right? It's sort of down there. And they'll do some things in a reactive mode if they must. Our goal here is to be as proactive as possible, okay? Another issue that comes up with budget that we talked about this morning as well is, the understanding that budget operates in a very specific fashion, right? So budget is 2 buckets of money. We have operating expenses, and operating budget is where all the money for supplies and labor and benefits and those kinds of expenses is part of operating budget. The other budget is a capital budget, and out of capital is where, the money for renovations and rehabs and buildings and buses and carpeting and major equipment, those kinds of things come out of capital. Sometimes I'll hear an employee say, you know what, if you guys can afford to do all of this stuff with the lobby, why can't you afford to pay us more from that money? And what you need to understand is capital budgets and operating budgets are distinct and separate, and they never cross over. You can't. It's illegal. Okay, Mark would go to jail. All right.
Not me,
So-
you throw it.
So there is a solid brick wall. There's a solid brick wall between operating budget and capital budget. So in any given year in an organization may be doing great with their operating budget and struggling with capital. Struggling with capital, doing great with operating. Okay? So they never cross over, they don't touch, right? So one of the other pieces in terms of wages is that $1 an hour or whatever hour increase that you might receive, always keep in mind that the employer, Monarch Landing, pays more than that dollar. So for you, you get that dollar, and for us, it costs us about $1.30, $1.40, okay? And that all adds up, because it's not just you, it's all of the employees, right? Same thing then when we look at things like benefits. Why can't you offer X? Well, we could, but the deal is that we want to offer something for everybody. If we could get away with offering it for only a small portion and that would make it more affordable, great, but that's not fair, right? So we look at things in terms of how can we offer it for everyone across the board, and those costs add up for every single person, okay? So that's an important thing to consider. But that is also a consideration that we take very seriously and look at closely, all right? One of the most important things about this is, you know, one of the values that Mark talks of often is that transparency. And you'll hear Beth says this all the time, and I don't even think you realize how much you say it. She'll say, okay, for the sake of transparency, and then she explains and discloses something. And that's what's going to be important here going forward. People always need to know the why behind something, so we'll endeavor to explain the why and to be transparent where we can be in terms of what's going on and why it's happening the way it's happening. We won't be if it involves maintaining or protecting the confidentiality of an individual or a group. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Other thoughts?
I have a question about insurance also. What about, we used to have pet insurance, and we don't have pet insurance anymore.
We have pet insurance now.
We do?
We do.
You
Okay,
missed
I
it.
apologize.
That's okay. So we
Brian
just,
made me late.
Just for you, Matt, done.
done, yay.
Thank you.
We just,
Busy signing autographs.
we just introduced pet insurance through Nationwide.
Okay.
Pet Insurance Nationwide is the biggest provider of pet insurance, and they're one of the few that allow for payroll deduction, so that gives ease to you. So you should have an email of that waiting for you in your email. There's a hard copy of it there at the table. You can enroll now. It will go into effect September 1, and you'll see the deduction out of the first payroll in September. Okay. And any other kinds of benefits or ideas that you have, or like you talk to a friend who works someplace else and they tell you, oh, we get such and such and we don't offer that, please throw that into the suggestion module on Touchtown. Okay? There's a lot that can be offered in terms of benefits and there's a fair number that we're looking at right now, like AFLAC, critical care, hospital care, prepaid legal, those kinds of things. Okay? All right. What else?
Two questions real quick, and this could get way bigger than what it needs to, but you got the capital operating budget.
Mhm.
Do those budgets get supplied from, quote, one pot? I mean, is there one source of revenue that gets divided into those two budgets?
Oh, I'll answer that a little
Okay.
bit. So, sort of. So really, the operating expense really is driven out of the revenue. The capital budgets are taken out of cash balance. So for a metric that we want to watch for business health is days cash on hand, and we have minimum standards we've got to meet for debt covenants and for the banks. So that's really where the capital budgets are developed out of the cash balance, whereas the operating budget goes more from the day-to-day revenue and expenses that are paid. It's a little bit simplified, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, and I asked that to ask the following question. Could the quote percentages of what goes into the operating budget change as opposed to the capital budget? Because you say they don't cross, but can the percentage or amount of the overall money?
Yes, yeah, more so on the capital, because we can't, the operating budget itself, so revenue minus expenses, has to balance every year. Capital can fluctuate at a higher percentage or a lower percentage based on cash balances and based on project needs, or if ownership decides that they're going to fund the capital projects through a financing method rather than just using cash balances.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Does that
Yeah.
answer the question?
As much as I need to understand.
Okay. Yeah, I would say from an operating perspective, percentage breakdowns are usually going to be fairly stable year over year. Capital could shift. higher or lower. Monarch Landing, independent living is an aging building. We're gonna have to spend, $400,000 to $500,000 a year on keeping corridors updated over the next 5 to 6 years. The lobby renovation's happening now, we have to remain competitive in the marketplace.
Streetlights,
What's that?
streetlights?
Streetlights, yeah, everything, so, yeah. It's a good question.
Val?
Are we planning to maybe expand more because we have a huge land in the future?
It's been discussed specifically for a traditional assisted living. I don't know, just because we build it, doesn't mean the independent living residents are gonna wanna move. I think a lot of you probably know the challenges that are in place when we're trying to get an independent living resident to move to memory care, getting them to make that decision. But we are looking at that. There's no active plans at this point, other than just a feasibility study of what projected costs would be to build something like that, what would the debt ratios have to be, would the projected cash flow support the operation, would it hurt future operations, would it take money away from the day-to-day expenses that we have now? Those are all the factors we want to make sure we're looking at when those type of decisions come, and if we think the market will support it. So another good question. As far as developing the land, so we no longer own that land east parcel, that's Calamos Investments. We did sell that to Calamos, but we do have the north land here as well.
That would be beautiful for pool, maybe employee pool.
The rooftop patio would be nice.
Yeah, mini golf,
With
maybe.
a bar and
A
a.
bar, I mean, no, limit bar,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, ideas of villas and things like that have been thrown out there. Like a lot of competitors do have villas on their grounds, like Villa St. Benedict or Oak Trace. So those thoughts are out there. Again, nothing really being planned at this point.
Hey, that's great. What else?
I'm serious about the rooftop bar.
Lulu?
Yeah, I have a consideration, when I working through the food selection for our residents, I feel sometimes it's not enough for our residents, so the presentation and the food
Okay.
have to be, a little different and taken in consideration. I don't know who's supervising that because sometimes we don't have enough, or the food they serving, sometimes more when the family sits there and the residents complain about it.
Okay.
So we actually have set up we're going to have Ryan joining for the resident council in assisted living so that the residents can talk to him. And I'll talk to him as well, because making sure that we're doing some additional rounding, talking to the residents, observing what's working and what's not, and maybe some additional training on how to present a plate and how to set a plate or serve too.
And also the appearance for our community, I think is very important more when you have a tour, to the new prospect for our family, so somebody have to bring the residents to our community. I think my poor opinion is we have to concentrate a little bit on appearance to our community is very important.
Okay, is that specifically with food or in other ways?
Not really for our food, but I think the way our community is to look better, look like the living room set and the living room and the dining area have to be better appearance.
Okay. That's good. All right. Barbara?
The chairs that are in residents' room, as far as like their recliners and stuff, are not suitable for residents. They can't get up out of them. They can't use
really low.
Can't use machines to get them. We have to jimmy rig to try to get them in and out. They need a wheelchair, a handicap accessible, I guess it's something, furniture.
Handicap
They
accessible.
might look nice in the
Okay.
room, but they don't accommodate our residents at all.
Okay.
And the rolling, what's it called, slider recliner, the one that rocks.
So basically more ergonomically appropriate furniture for.
Yeah, the
Oh, that's
recliners
right.
sit really low and then the rockers
Once they get in it, they
aren't safe for
cannot
the
get back
residents,
out.
especially not transferring.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Once they get in, it's hard to get them back out. Okay.
It's hard to get them in, and then if they have bad knees, getting them out is impossible. Even adding like an extra cushion underneath.
So you're thinking like the automatic lift one, or the ones that help
We
stand?
need, the self-lift ones would be nice, but the ones that they have in their rooms, it's just, they can recline and that's it.
So, trying to think through like what I've seen through our vendors, if we were to have similar to the recliners we currently have, but maybe
If the seat
six
was
6
higher,
inches taller.
yeah, it's just a really, like, it's a low drop for me to sit in that recliner, let alone a resident with different health issues.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so imagine if your knees don't work or your hips don't work
Yeah.
or.
You're comfortable for family, I would test.
Yeah.
You've got a wide range of heights though between residents, so that needs to be considered as well.
Okay. What else?
Can we have Starbucks here?
Batisha's all about that.
Okay, is this where the Starbucks Dunkin' Donuts fight starts?
You got the bistro sitting here, I mean,
Yeah.
you got the espresso machine that's not being used at the moment, can employees indulge in?
I said, hope second or third shift.
Huh?
Second and third shift.
No, we can go get it, I'm just saying.
Oh.
To go.
Well, I don't
we
think
need
so.
to separate
You got the
it.
nurse, you got a nurse and supervisor, you teach every nurse and supervisor how to use this, and have it.
Has
Okay,
everybody
Michelle,
been-
you have to stay and pass
I'm
our
just
coffee
saying,
now.
somebody that knows how to use it.
Counterpoint. Has everybody been taught to use a hairnet in the warming pantry? Crickets. Okay. I think it's a good point though to make use of the equipment that we do have and have a little fun with it. So even if we were to look at maybe, how do people feel about cold brew? If we were to brew something up and have it.
Cold brew?
I'll meet you two brothers
Cold
after
brew
this.
coffee,
Yeah.
colleague.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee. I like the smell of it, but I don't drink it.
Okay, what else? You guys are giving a lot of good information. Overall, generally, are we happy with the benefits that we have so far?
I'm very, they're excellent.
How many of
They
you,
are.
how many of you participate in our benefits to some degree?
Some degree, I don't take health.
Yeah. For those of you who don't, what would get you to participate in benefits? Is it cost, or you've got benefits elsewhere, or other benefits are better?
Well, I'm gonna be honest, the cost is, let's say, I do have a family insurance, with dental, nothing extra, basic family insurance with dental. The price, what I'm paying, the place where I used to work, exactly the same insurance, exactly the same dental, it was 50% less, even less. I still do have checks, and it's still the same team.
Yeah.
So it is, at least 50% more I'm paying here versus for the same type of insurance, which is excellent, best. I've been having that insurance for the past 16 years, and dental is excellent, But it is cost a little bit higher, but that's what
Yeah, some of the primary consideration in terms of what drives the insurance costs in terms of what you pay has a lot to do with, the decision of what percentage would you pay and what percentage does the company cover, right?
Yeah.
And once again, there's a number of factors involved, like the size of our employee population, because we always have to look at it on an assumption that, what if all 100% of our employees participated? And then this would be the potential cost of that, right? So employers across the board always fluctuate and modulate that. And some take a calculated risk where they will pay more because they're anticipating a lower participation rate so they can afford it. If participation increased, then they could make adjustments to cause people to have to pay more, right? So it really depends on the number of participants that drives what is the percentage that the company's going to pay versus you. That's why when people leave and they get their letter of COBRA notification to say, okay, because the COBRA law says that you can continue your employer's health care coverage at that group rate, which is significantly lower than the individual rate. But people are always sticker shocked when they get that COBRA letter, and let's say you have Blue Cross Blue Shield family coverage and you had the PPO. And then you leave and you get that COBRA letter and you were paying, 180 something or whatever per paycheck. And then you get the COBRA letter and it says it's gonna cost you now $2,600 per month for COBRA because now you're paying 100% of what the employer got charged. We do a share and we pay, a significant portion. So that's where the shock comes in for people. But once again, we're always evaluating that. So, we are getting ready to head into our renewal period for our insurances. We, in September, we should have, notification from Blue Cross as to how much they're gonna charge us for premiums for, 2022-23. And we're hoping that they don't come back with a huge increase, but whatever increase they come back with, we'll try to negotiate. And then we'll have to figure out how much does Monarch Landing pay and how much will the employees pay. Right? But the goal, obviously, for us is to keep our Blue Cross Blue Shield because they are the premium health insurance carrier. They've got the largest network. They have the most generous benefits. And their doctors that participate with Blue Cross are the happiest doctors of all the other carriers. So that's our goal. What else?
For the washing the dishes, is it nice if we can just do focus on patient care? Because it's in our thing on first floor, we're toileting the patient and then we're done washing the dishes. We're just watching the light, and you come back and but it's not really nice if we just focus on patient. That's what's supposed to be the CNA does.
It would be nice,
Yeah.
certainly, but so we have a position called the resident support aide and that we've been actively recruiting for and at some point in time, and we're feeling pretty optimistic now that we will be able to fill those positions, but that position would have the primary responsibility of doing that. However, it doesn't excuse the CNAs and RAs from also taking that responsibility on. Sometimes, as much as you may not like to hear it, sometimes in a job you do what needs to be done. You do what you've got to do in support of the whole thing, because patient care isn't just taking care of just the individual. Patient care is like what Lulu was referring to. Patient care is also making sure that when they get their food and we eat with our eyes, that the food looks good and it's well plated. Patient care is making sure that when they walk, they come out of their room, that the environment that they're in is relaxing and lovely and calming and soothing, right? So patient care is everything. It's not just the care that you give directly to the individual. And so, it's the whole thing. So sometimes, yes, as a CNA or RA, you have to step in and take care of those tasks and work either collaboratively with your colleagues or you're picking it up on your own and doing that. And other times when we have resident support aides on shift and they're able to do it, they're picking that up and doing that too. Okay. But and this may just be me, I have a personal philosophy that, when you're working, no job should be viewed as being too much or too beneath me to do, right? So, when we do guardian angel rounds, for instance, it really doesn't matter what your position is. If someone needs help on a floor doing dishes, then we run and we do dishes. Or, I'm not a trained CNA or nurse, so I can't go in and help with toileting or bathing. If I could, I would, but I can't, right? So we do what we can. And then with an eye towards, as we're staffing and as we're bringing people in to do some of these other tasks, we're doing that. So, okay?
And also, shameless plug, we have open positions in resident support as well as CNAs, and referral bonuses still stand. So bring in people would be great and create the team and the culture that we want to have here.
Yeah. Okay. Jessica?
We need pagers. We need more pagers. I haven't had a pager in months.
Pagers, the bane of existence for all senior living communities. Oh my God.
Programmed
We do-
3 times in
we
the
do
last
have
3
them.
weeks.
We do have them, but
Where?
this system is not working.
Let's meet after this.
We do have them.
I haven't seen one in months on Magnolia.
Well,
So
the
if I'm
other
in
day
the-
Stephen brought two to Poplar. Yeah. brought
And we've
Poplar.
already had aides that come in for their next shift, going to different floors, returning pagers that they took home the night before. So if I'm doing the dishes, how do I know my lights are going off?
Returning them to the wrong floor?
Like,
what's
we
going on?
have people that come in and say I worked last night and I'm on 2nd floor, but I'm scheduled today for 3rd floor. I'm going back down to 2nd floor to drop off the pager I took home.
Also, they're forgetting to leave it. There they go.
So then the next shift doesn't have any pagers.
Okay, well, they can be like me, I'll frisk you on the way out the door, you're gonna hand over your pager.
But you know, we have that issue, Barb, you know, you're here from the day one since we started, that we would have even our own employees before. Barb is here from day one, and bet you would know that we would find pagers in the garage, on the floor, everywhere. And even before we have a different system, I wish that if you see, please, anywhere pager, check which floor it is, please return, but the agency, because the good thing is, like, this is the meeting for our staff, not the agency, please remind them, leave the pager, because we don't wanna, you know, some of the agency CNAs, they're not coming back in the next, let's say, month or 2, and you know, of course, we're not gonna go chase them, and it's, so please remind them, please.
And from a nursing perspective, a reminder at the beginning, end of shift, to leave your pager, to pick up your pager, and we'll talk about what we need.
I was gonna say, we had the issue with pagers during assisted living, and I created this form that the nurses have to initial that they got each pager back at the end of each shift. So
No matter
when
what
file
risk you
comes
for them.
on, they do,
haven't lost
and
one
I've
since we
seen,
started.
yeah,
No, we
we
haven't.
haven't lost any,
Not one.
but you know,
I
how
know
many
it's
times,
pretty
so
cool
it
that on
takes
the
for
way out
the
to
nurse
work,
to
I
be
have to.
responsible to make sure she gets that pay.
But you know, you have like one floor, we have 3 floors.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
each
nurse-
side.
Nurse accountable.
I mean, I know they're
I think
busy.
the moral of the story is the nurse is accountable for
Yeah.
the CNA pagers.
And we have more nurses, you know, and not
Yes.
everybody is
Taking on my
accountable.
paycheck. I don't
and
know
not
what
everybody
this is,
has
$1,000 or
the same.
something.
Its own binder.
Yeah, every unit has their own binder, but the nurse is just checking for those.
Okay. So, sounds like a process issue.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. What else? We have about 6 minutes left.
This has nothing to do with staffing, but I would like to see our doors fixed to Prairie Place, cause I sit in that first office, so if I'm here at 5 o'clock in the morning and lab comes through, bam, they slam. And I know they stick sometimes, but lately, they slam so loud, and everybody is not courteous to make sure they close quietly,
Okay.
so we can get something done.
We adjust those every 2 weeks, those doors. Part
We
of it
gotta
has
do
to,
something better.
part of it has to, there's not a lot. Part of it has to do is that they leave the kitchen door open and you get
wasn't
it
eating
dry.
breakfast and
Because you
lunch
can
so
feel
much.
that air being just pumped. That's why those doors sometimes slam. And I try to close, I close that door almost every single day behind the counter and it's back open.
So let's test through and see what happens when the door's open versus closed, and if it makes a difference, and then
That's how I
go from there.
adjusted it last time.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. So again, I really encourage you, if you think of anything else afterwards, please put it in the suggestion box module on Touchtown. We look at that pretty regularly. Sarah prints it, and when she sees something interesting, I love it, because she prints it and then she comes, she goes, all right, here you go. And then she leaves my office, which usually makes me look at it immediately. So, All right, did everyone get a raffle ticket? All right. Hey, Vaughn, can you give me the cup behind you there with the tickets in it? All right. Kyle, pick one. This one is 851.
Last three.
Yep, last three, 851. Got it? All right.
Hey.
Yay. Gas card, yes.
Use that. 5 minutes.
I keep reading in the news that gas prices are coming down, but I'm not feeling that, so. 873, last three digits, 873.
Hey.
Go for the painter. Thank you.
All right, quick one. Eight 850. Shanti, you are just the luckiest person. I think you always win something. That's so cool. All right, one more. All right, this one is 856. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
I appreciate all your feedback.
That's how Mark, we're gonna have to tax him on his breakfast over there.